Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby. If you didn't know, now you know. And if you didn't know, this month is Asian Readathon for Asian Heritage Month, and one of the challenges was read the group book Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I did read it. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Probably out of the 4 books that I've read so far, it's probably my favorite. Then again, I said I was going to read 11 books for this month, and it's already past halfway through the month, so yeah, I don't know how I was gonna get that done. Anyway, yeah, it was a really good novel. I feel like Little Fires Everywhere, reading that book is like watching a movie that's nominated for an Oscar. You just come away thinking, yeah, that was a really good novel. The same way you come away from, like, I don't know, Parasite, thinking, wow, that was a really good movie. Although Parasite may be like above or better than Little Fires Everywhere in my mind, but we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is, for this video, I wanted to explore why Little Fires Everywhere is as good as a novel as it is, and everything Celeste Ng does right, in my opinion, to make Little Fires Everywhere such a well-crafted story. So first off, the structure of the novel is a closed narrative. What do I mean by a closed narrative? Well, I mean that we know the ending before we know the beginning. Right from the start, we know that the Richardson house burns down. And then we go back 1 year in time to figure out what were the events that led up to this house burning down. And thus, it creates this kind of closed loop. I think this kind of closed loop, closed narrative kind of framework works well for 2 reasons. One, structurally it works because with the ending in mind, the reader is given a sense that every plot thread, even though we don't know how, is somehow related or somehow contributes to the house eventually burning down. So none of the plot threads feel pointless or shoehorned into the story, because they all feel like they have a purpose, and they do have a purpose. They're all there for a reason, and they are all used intentionally. The second reason this works really well is that this framework fits the story being told. This is because in the first chapter, Lexi says there were little fires everywhere, multiple points of origin. Well, this multiple points of origin, I believe, takes literal and metaphorical meaning. See, these multiple points of origins aren't just literal little fires that were started, but each plot thread represents a point of origin, a little spark that becomes a little fire that eventually culminates and merges with all the other fires to create this one big fire, this culminating event, the climax of this book. And so the book, the story, is about tracing back those points of origin to figure out how this all started. And so there we have cause and effect. This story is not simply, oh, this happens and then this happens and then this happens and this happens. No. This story is, this happens because that happened, and this happens because that happened, and this happens because that happened. There's always a reason for everything. Everything in this book can be traced back to another point of origin, which I think is really cool. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens just because. There's always a reason why. There is always a why behind these sparks, these fires, these points of origin. This gives the book a sense of inevitability, as if all of these events were not really supposed to happen, but all of these events were meant to happen the way they were because there was no other way they were going to happen. And I think this is really interesting because it shows that events that were so completely preventable were, in actuality, inevitable. And I also think telling us the ending at the very beginning of the book was an interesting choice on Celeste Ng's part, because she could have just not told us. The ending would have been a lot more surprising. Oh my god, this big fire happens, what? We would have been way more shocked. but she tells us in the beginning anyway. And I think that really says something. I think it says, oh, it doesn't matter what happens next in this book. It doesn't matter what happens. What matters is why it happens. So the questions we shouldn't be asking are what. It should be why. The next point I want to move on to is the characters. The characters, in my opinion, are really thought out by the author. I think this is where Celeste Ng really makes really great use of the omniscient narrator voice that she uses throughout the novel, because we get to see every single person's thoughts and perspectives. And even characters that are very, very minor. Yes, we hear some characters' perspectives more than others, but every single character, we hear their thoughts. Even the little bit with Mr. Yang about how he was thinking back to when he snuck into a garden to hook up with some girl. It's little details like that. We don't need those details. The book would still probably be great without those little details, but she includes them anyway. And it's this inclusion of small little details, of seeing at least a glimpse of a person's thoughts and perspectives throughout the story, is what makes all of these characters feel all the more real and makes the world of this town all the more real. Another great thing about these characters is that they're given such depth. There's no character that feels purely one-dimensional. Even the more minor characters, or even the main characters that aren't touched on as much, we are given a hint that there's more complexity behind their character, no matter how shallow they might seem on the inside. And I think that's really interesting. We not only find out what these characters want, their motivations, but we find out why they want what they want. Why do they react the way they do? Why do they do the things they do? Especially with Mrs. Richardson and with Mia. These two are the main conflicting forces, and we see this so strongly with their characters within this novel. So because of this, we get to understand these characters on a deeper level. We end up sympathizing with characters we hate, and sometimes hating characters we initially liked. We also get access to these characters' present, their past, and even their future. There are multiple points in the book where Celeste Ng references or mentions how a character would look back on or reflect on an event that happens in the book years after the events take place. And it's this sense of future that feels like even though the book ends, the story is still continuing. Even though the literal fire is put out, it's still affecting these characters' lives years and years after the book ends, as if they are real people with real lives. And so these characters are given such time and space in order to appear so fully formed on the page. And one of the last things I want to talk about are the themes of this novel. Every plot thread and every character can be traced back to a set of core themes that this book centers around and uses as connective tissue for the novel. So, if you asked me, what is this book about? I would say ultimately, this story is a story about motherhood. It's a story about how motherhood complicates this black and white view we have of morality. Is there a right or wrong way to be a mother? And it highlights the sacrifices that motherhood entails. What does it mean to be a mother? What does it mean to give that up? And how far are you willing to go for your child? And these questions in the novel are further complicated by race and class, with Bibi and the McCulloughs, and Mia and Pearl and the Richardsons. It also focuses on mother and daughter dynamics with Elena and Izzy, Mia and Pearl, and Mia and Izzy, and Elena and Pearl. The book also talks about other themes like identity and family and art. Who are you? Who are you in the context of your family, of your school, of your town? Who are you as an artist? What are you trying to express? Little Fires Everywhere centers around all of these ideas, all of these questions. It is through these stories that we as the readers hear so many different perspectives and points of view on these different topics, especially motherhood, so that we as readers are meant to leave this book not with answers, but with more questions. This book is meant for us to ask questions. Remember, not what, but why. This book is meant for us to ask the whys. Why do we do what we do? Everything in this book is meant to give us a nuanced and multi-layered story about mothers. And finally, of course, it is Celeste Ng's beautiful writing that is able to tie together all of the different elements that I discussed in order to put forth a beautiful, complex, and well-crafted story. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed this video because I really enjoyed writing it. I think it was cool. I really would like to make more videos like this in the future. I had a lot of fun with it. It was fun thinking about it and thinking what to write and what to discuss and blah blah blah. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you watched to the end, thank you so much. If you liked it, leave a like. If you liked it and you want more, subscribe, because that's always cool, I guess. And also, feel free to leave a comment down below, give some feedback, because I really want to know, because I really did like making this video, and I would possibly, maybe, potentially, probably would like to make more in the future. So please tell me what I did good, what I could improve on, what you like, if you liked, blah blah blah. I'm rambling. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you. So until next time, bye.